Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, LuAnn Nigara. LuAnn has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. LuAnn brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hi, welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. On the show today, I have Ruthie Stolson, and I know a lot of people just started doing a happy dance. She is beloved by many of us. And if you are not familiar with Ruthie, let me give you a little bit of background. She has more than 14 years of design experience, and she operates out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. She is an internationally published interior designer who built her business from the ground up. Ruthie was awarded the 2016 Designer of the Year from the National Interior Design Society for a kitchen renovation project, and she was also nominated as one of the top 15 decorators in Dallas. Her work has been published in Elite Monde, a lifestyle and fashion magazine in Dubai, as well as traditional home magazine Great Kitchens. Ruthie focuses on making homes look collected, not decorated. Her personal design style has a European flair with an eclectic twist. She has been influenced by her extensive world travels. Ruthie was born and raised overseas, and her influences come from Europe, Africa, Central, and South America. She describes that the privilege of being able to experience different lifestyles was the greatest gift of her childhood. She explains her personal character was built by living in different cultures, and she quickly learned to make small things count. This is a really nice conversation about the value of mentorship. If you remember, Episode 291 with Cheryl Luckett, the principal of Dwell by Cheryl. Ruthie is Cheryl's mentor that she was talking about. We also talk about the value of attending conferences, in particular the Design Bloggers Conference where Cheryl and Ruthie met many years ago, and about how Ruthie has set her firm up so that she is doing the type of work and projects that she loves. I'm certain that you're going to like Ruthie as much as I do. Now, before we get to the show, I want to give you a reminder that the podcast birthday party is this coming February 21st at the showroom of our host, Lefroy Brooks, the Rolls-Royce of plumbing fixtures. Both of our show sponsors will be there. Sarah Daniele of My Doma Studio is coming in from Canada, as well as several members of the Kravit Inc. team. Not to mention, so many of the previous guests that you've come to know and admire through the show will all be there as well. So please join us. If you're listening and you can hear my voice, you're invited. It's as simple as that. Just go to the RSVP at LuAnnNigara.com/party. Alrighty, I'd love to introduce you to Ruthie now. Hey, Ruthie, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you so much, LuAnn. I'm so excited to be here.
I know. It's a long time coming. We met each other almost a year ago at this point at Design Bloggers Conference last year, and that was from before that we were communicating through social media, right?
That's right. And I think it's just so cool when you get to meet someone in person that you pretty much feel like you know from social media. Isn't that crazy?
I know. It is so funny. And it's just like it just happened to us before we started recording here. I called you and we just started talking. I'm like, oh, wait, actually, hello. Nice to meet you.
I think that's so awesome. I can't even tell you how many relationships I have because of that, of social media, and how that just takes you to a different level with somebody immediately, and then when you meet them you feel like you know them, and I think that's awesome.
It's the truth. And it's funny because a lot of times I will, either on the podcast or at a live event, I'll do my complaining about social media, and but I always, my complaining is always centered around the feeding the beast. But yes. I always am saying, especially at the live events, when I have the opportunity to meet all of you guys face to face, it's like, that's the part I love about it, because it is the truth. You just sit down and you just start talking. There's no, oh, hi, and how are you? It's like, okay, what's going on? Here we're going. How many? It's like awesome.
you're able to ask the questions you need to ask them and get deep with them immediately, and you just feel like you're besties, and
It's
that's
the
just the
truth.
coolest thing.
It's the truth. When we went to America's Mart this past fall, it was myself and Sarah Danielli, the CEO of MyDoma, and Mark McDonough, the editor-in-chief and the founder of Tastefully Inspired, and Sandra Funk, the CEO, the principal of House of Funk, and we were on a panel together down there. And we, designers came up to us afterwards, and we were like, "Oh my God, I know you, la 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 la," like this, right? And we went for drinks at our hotel lobby bar at 5:30 at night, and I'm telling you, at 1 o'clock in the morning, we're closing the place down. And it was us and like people that we met. Nancy Ganscalfer was there as well, but people that we know each other, but and the truth is, Mark and I had never met in person. You know what I mean? But it was just, and then designers coming by and like, "Oh, hi," and I'm like, "Come on, sit down. I know you. Come on." It was awesome.
Well, I know, and I'm on the Design Bloggers board this year, and I tell them all the time that the biggest part about the whole bloggers conference is just being able to be connected to other designers. Yeah. Because like I've heard you talk about in some of your podcasts is, being a designer is sort of a lonely world. And so when you all of a sudden are immersed into hundreds of people that do the same thing as you do, it's the biggest gift you can give yourself.
Mm-hmm. It's the truth, going to the conferences and stuff, right?
Oh my gosh. And a lot of these conferences, anytime you go to a conference that with other designers, or even if it's just about social media, that connection is just something that you can't get anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, going to a conference, it's funny because I had no intention of bringing this up, but I'm gonna play off of what you're describing there. Going to a conference, even if you don't know anybody there, is also moves the needle. Even if the person next to you was a stranger before you got there, they're not a stranger when you leave, because it's what you said. When you do the same thing for a living, whether you do it in one place of the world or another, you sit down, and if the only thing you have in common is your profession, that automatically breaks the ice. But then the icing on the cake is like when we met at Design Bloggers in person, we were like, "Oh," I'm like, "Hi, Ruthie," you're like, "Hi, LuAnn," blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's like a whole, and that was the experience with so many designers. That was one of my first chances to meet in person a lot of the West Coast designers that I had been interacting with, either as guests on the show or just as listeners to the show.
Yep.
So.
And that's just it's just the neatest thing to be able to, for me, I was very nervous about going to the very first conference with other designers. I felt very intimidated by that. But because I forced myself to go knowing nobody, I knew, like you just said, I would have one thing in common with them, and I would know how to talk design.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, you just have to step out and make yourself do something. And usually, if you're scared of it, it's worth doing.
Good line. Good line. So that's interesting in there, Ruthie. Go back to telling us about going to a conference for the very first time. Was it Design Bloggers or was it High Point? What was your first one? And tell me about that experience where you recall being a little nervous about it, because I'm sure there's designers out there that are thinking, "Yeah, me too."
So, yes, the Design Bloggers Conference, I read about it online, and I thought, you know what, I need to do this. This is exactly what I need to be immersed in, to encourage me to kind of confirm a lot of things that I wanted confirmation about, as far as the way I was running my business. And so I decided to go, and showed up in LA feeling very insecure. But, it's so cool how it worked out, because I ended up meeting some amazing people, and we just hit it off right away. And like we were talking about before, a lot of it was people that I had followed, blogs that I had been following for years that had encouraged me and given me insight into doing things. And, so that was just an amazing experience, and made me glad that I did it.
And how many years ago was that?
That was probably 7 years ago.
Okay.
I think this is the seventh year that the
Okay.
Design Bloggers Conference is.
And here you are on the Design Bloggers board now, loving
Yeah.
that. Like, talk about, isn't
Isn't it?
that something? And so here's two things I want to point out about that is at that point, then that meant that you were in your interior design firm 7 years already. And so there's two things in there that I love for newer, younger designers to hear is that you were in business 7 years and you still felt a bit of intimidation about going to a conference. Okay. And I love that you pushed through and went. But think about that. You weren't, I just opened up a year ago. It was 7 years in. And so you did it and it was valuable, but you were nervous about doing it. And then take it another 7 years and now you're on the Design Bloggers Conference board.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
It is. It is something.
And it shows how you have seasons in your business, because when you first start, you kind of, for me, I started sort of fumbled around, did what I thought was the best thing, and then slowly started finding people that I could be mentored by and started getting more and more confident about what I was doing. And then you kind of go through a stage where you kind of feel a little stagnant. You kind of feel like, okay, I'm just starting to be a little bit, I just need some enthusiasm. I need somebody else to pour into me. And so that's when I read about the Bloggers Conference, and I felt like, you know what, I've been writing a blog for a couple years now. It's time for me to step it up a notch. It's time for me to be around other people that are doing better things, who are more experienced, and who can teach me some things that I don't know. And so that's really what I was, wanting is just a boost of and that's what I find we get as designers every few years. You just need somebody to just kind of take you by the hand and say, come on now, you need to push to the next level. And for me, that's what it took to kind of push me to that. So
I love it. Well, and it's funny because I am a huge proponent of going to conferences for exactly that reason. My husband and I, it's funny because we did a Facebook Live, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago back in the fall, and I said to him, because it was being announced that I was going to speak at the International Window Coverings Expo again this year. And so I said, let's do a Facebook Live. Let's talk about going to conferences. And the simple fact is that when we're in the window treatment business for 35 years. Do I go to IWCE with this same outlook that somebody that's in the window treatment business 1, 2, 3, 5 years has? No, I'm not going there thinking, oh my goodness, I have to gather all my resources. I have to learn how to measure. I have to learn how to sell. It's the thing is though that I always go knowing I'm going to come back with two things. I'm going to come back with energy and enthusiasm for my business, and I'm going to come back with something new. I'm going to come back with a lesson, possibly a vendor, anything what it is. But we both agreed that it's always worth it when you can afford it. You don't spend money you don't have, right? But it's always worth the investment because it does re-energize you in your business and you do learn something. And so I think that's awesome. You expressed that in this season of your business. It was almost like you were looking for a little mojo, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, a lot of it was the keynote speakers and all of that, but most of what I take away from it was one-on-one with other designers, because the all the different topics that come up, you're jotting notes down frantically because you're thinking, I need to focus on that, and then you go talk to somebody and they answer it for you, and so you feel like instantly you get this information. And it's personal because they've had experience with it. And so it was just something that every year I've gone, I haven't missed one. And it's because of that very reason, because each time I've improved myself and come back with a to-do list and made my business better every year.
Right.
So, you have to have something that you do. It doesn't have to be a certain conference. You need to have something that keeps you going to spur you on so that you feel like you do become better.
Yeah, and you said it in there. It's the one-on-one. It's like the way I mentioned that here we were sitting at the lobby of the Marriott from 5:30 at night till 1 o'clock in the morning, because it's that one-on-one where, and we literally were changing, I almost want to say, seating partners all night, because, I would get knee deep into a conversation with Mark, and then 45 minutes later turn and get into a conversation with Nancy or Sandra or Sarah or Leah or whoever was there. And it's true. It's the speakers that draw you there, because there are people that we look up to in the industry, and there are people in the industry that we know have something they can teach us. And that's terrific. That's awesome. But it is that interaction, that breakouts in between, and waiting in line to get your lunch at the, or what I mean, having a cocktail at the vendor exhibit or something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And, like you had mentioned energy and enthusiasm. I think, as a business owner, we have to be the people that we are the cheerleaders for our team, and so it is very important that we are energetic and that we are feeling like we can kind of run the show. And so that's quick burnout. I mean, that you get burned out pretty fast when you're constantly having to cheer your team on and encourage your team and get everybody motivated. And so, I just find that that's an investment in your business when you can pour into yourself and, get those needs met so that you can pour into others.
I agree. And also, too, as you mentioned, as for the many, many, many designers out there that run solo firms, it's one thing, here I am with my husband, and we've got Kim and Adriana and Billy and, 5 other installers. There's a lot of interaction on a daily basis that every time you turn around, you're having a 5-minute conversation with an installer, or you're having a conversation in the office or whatever. But for a solo, you're right. How do you keep, even if the only person that you have to cheer for is you have to cheer for you.
That's right. Exactly. And, that's one of the things, LuAnn, that I found just recently. We did the Traditional Home Dallas Show House here in Dallas. And that was one of the benefits that I learned from that whole experience, was working with other designers that are, amazingly talented. And that camaraderie and what you learn from people that are ahead of you is so humbling and so incredibly motivating. So, I think that if any time in our businesses, if we can surround ourselves with people that are doing more than what we're doing, you're going to grow in your business.
Yes.
And it's crucial to success.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so this brings me to one of the meetings that you had at Design Bloggers Conference. And, you know that Cheryl Luckett, Dwell by Cheryl, was on the show just a couple of weeks ago, episode 291. And to my surprise, I invited her on the show because Rashida Gray, who I met in Philadelphia at the Kravit opening of their new showroom at the Philadelphia Design Center, in the middle of the conversation, she starts talking about her mentor. And so then she says her name. I'm like, wait a minute. I know Cheryl. So then I reach out to Cheryl. I'm like, you have to be on the show now. And then in her conversation, she tells me you're her mentor. And I'm just like, whoa. Okay, stop the presses.
Isn't that the coolest thing? And
I just,
yes, it snowballs. And that's just how life goes.
Right. And so Cheryl and you met at Design Bloggers, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Actually, we were being transported from one place to the next, one party to the next, and we sat in the bus together. And she goes, "I'm Cheryl. I'm new. I came by myself." And I said, "I did too. Great. We have something in common."
Oh my
and
God.
We became instant friends. It was just one of those things where our souls just connected. And it was just so cool because, of course, I was, like I said, was feeling very intimidated about being there. And she was too, because she was, working full time, and this was kind of her side job.
Right.
we
Almost
started
maybe
talking.
like, should I be here, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so we talked about that, and that's sort of where, I mean, it began from the very beginning. Mentorship begins I think there's a reason in everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're put with the right person, I think, if you just kind of wait for the right moment. And so that just happened to be our moment. And so we just connected, and from there and on, we talked often and had a lot of, she would have questions, and we would, chat for an hour, and then we would, have texts here going back and forth about different projects she was working on. And, it was just a great way to be able to have another designer friend in my life that was more consistent.
Yes,
Um,
rather than waiting till the next year to see everybody
yeah,
again, right? Mm-hmm.
exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
really what mentorship ends up being is you start mentoring each other.
Right, because,
I
well, and
feel
of
like
course,
you do.
she wasn't coming out of design school or out of, school in general at 20 years old. She's a grown woman with a fantastic corporate career behind her. So I
Absolutely.
can easily imagine that there were many times that she could offer something back to you from a perspective that she had from her career,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
I have learned so much from her. And so, social media, she's like the guru of
Oh my
social
goodness.
media. And she has taught me so much about that too. So, it's give and take.
Hmm.
And it's a cool relationship. And that's one thing that we're going to really be talking about at the Bloggers Conference too, is mentorship. So
Nice.
that'll be cool.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about take yourself back to the beginning of meeting Cheryl, and then the relationship moves to the telephone and helping her run her business. Think about the types of things that a designer listening. So it used to be Cheryl that would ask you the questions in the beginning. What are some of the things that a beginning designer struggles with? I know I have certain things that people often ask me over and over again, but first I'd love to know, what do you feel is some of the key takeaways, if you recall, of being aha moments or things that you really just were like, I remember when she asked this, or when she got this, or when I started to see something in her?
hmm I feel like when we started talking about that were somewhat personal, like hiring someone to help you as an assistant, when we started talking about things like that, and really kind of talking about your office situation, and do I need to get another office? Can I office out of my home? How do I charge? How do I go about doing a one-day consultation? All these questions that come up, and just sort of baby stepping through
Mm.
those things. And a lot of times, I just even remember her calling me in between like one of her consultations saying, "Oh my gosh, it went really great. And I'm so excited about how this is going. And what about this, this, and this, and this?" And then, I'm like, "All right, well, now you need to do this, this, and this." And so, and it's really great to be able to feel like, you're giving to somebody else. And just because somebody else had given to me, so it's great to pour back. So is that kind of the answer that you were looking for?
Yes, definitely. And so if we take some of the particulars then, so for example, when it is true, one of the things that designers often struggle with in the beginning is, okay, I've set my fee for my initial consultation. That is also one of the first struggles. How much to charge for the initial consultation? And, is it going to be 1 hour? Is it going to be 2 hours? But I find that struggle is a little easier to overcome with a question and answer. What should I charge? This is what it is, blah, blah, blah. The second step I find is a step that many designers struggle with, is the pricing of the design fee, that next step. So you've done your 2 hour consultation. Now you're supposed to go back and you're going to come up with your design proposal for them, and deciding, are you going to do a flat fee for it? Are you going to do an hourly for it? And That sort of a thing. And if it's going to be a flat fee, how many hours? How do I figure out my hours? What do you have to say in those regards? And it doesn't need to be what you necessarily taught Cheryl, but maybe from your own experience, the way your process has evolved, and 14 years later, you are standing in the place where you run your business a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Well, LuAnn, when you get started, you may not be able to charge the typical going rate,
right?
Because you're trying to gain credibility.
Sure.
And so you really have to kind of look at your market and see what your typical client would be happy to pay. And that is kind of, really asking other designers what they charge. And some of them will give you that information, and some won't. Mm-hmm. But it's when you can find, kind of a middle ground there where you feel like you are getting paid what you feel like you are worth, then that's, how I kind of set what I was going to start with. And then as time went, I slowly started raising it as I felt like I got bigger jobs, as I felt, I had more credibility, and I felt like it was okay for me to charge more. Mm-hmm. Then I started doing that. But I wanted to make sure, because, I wanted to make sure I'm making a decent profit. It's not a hobby. It's my livelihood,
Exactly.
And so you have to respect yourself, and also, sort of, set boundaries. Otherwise you'll get taken for granted. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the things that I was very aware of at the beginning, is making sure that I wasn't too cheap. I wasn't, so that they were like, why is she charging so little?
Right.
Because
that's a problem too.
She's really good, and that's
there must be something wrong with it if it's so inexpensive. Wrong. Right. Exactly.
And so a lot of it had to do with self-talk. I had to self-talk myself, like, I am worth this. I wonder what I'm doing.
Right.
And really a lot of it too is looking at other websites, and seeing what other designers are doing, and do I feel like I'm doing that? Am I, and social media now, of course, that's a whole nother issue, because we are exposed to so much that we are constantly in comparison mode. But we also can be inspired and can kind of help us set some of those boundaries by looking at what other people are doing and helping us kind of achieve what we think we should price, how we should price things.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember some of the markers for you that you started to feel like what you just said, the self-talk went from I'm not sure to I am worth this? Do you remember when you said, can you recall, was it amassing a body of work? Was it finally understanding that you just ran a project, and that time the project went really smoothly compared to the time before? Like, think about the moments that you went, oh, I'm getting this, I've got this, you know what, I'm good at this.
And I think where really the aha moment for me was, of course, realizing that I'm capable of more than I think I am. But also when I started hiring people to help me, as soon as I started having people do things that I wasn't as good at, I started to flourish, because they gave me wings to do what I really love. And so one of the things that I learned from one of my mentors is that hiring people is the best thing you can ever do. So an assistant, if that's just an intern, that's great. Mm-hmm. But start with something, because taking that pressure off of you so that you're not having to do everything for everybody can totally change the way you do business. And so for me, that's what that was. It was finally letting go and realizing somebody else can handle this. I don't have to be in all of this. So all my bookkeeping, all my accounting, having somebody handle my errands, running around to return things, to do all of that, sending thank you cards, calling my appointments for me, confirming my appointments, and just all of that. That's just so time consuming. And now I'm able it freed me up to be able to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, that's when I sort of had that aha moment, like, finally I can do what I need to do. But of course you can't do that right away,
Right. It's hard.
because financially, maybe you can't do that. But like, I started with an intern, and we just began slowly and baby stepped each way, and wanted to stay small because I didn't want to grow too fast and then totally be, my whole business go under. So we've really taken it slow, but it's been very profitable.
I love it. I love
because
it.
of
Yeah. No, it's the truth. We say it all the time. You want to maximize what you do best. You want to maximize your zone of genius. And it is very scary to make that first hire. I'm going to news for you guys. It's scary to make your 25th hire. I'm just going to tell you. We just made a hire last year. After, I've hired so many people in the 35 years we're in business, but we had a core we've actually taken on 3 new full-time employees in the last 11 months.
Wow.
Yes, and that now makes our team up to like a 12 or something. You know what I'm saying?
That's nice.
Yes, and the thing is, if you're new in business and you're thinking it's time for my first hire, but I'm afraid, guess what? I was afraid last year when we, in this list 3 times in this last year that we did this, because if you're a rational, caring, thinking person, when you hire somebody, you realize the responsibility that you are taking on. And you're not only taking on the responsibility of this person's livelihood, but you're also leveraging your responsibility, you're compromising possibly the responsibility to the people that are already on your team. Mm-hmm. So we talk every single week about it's very important to meet our numbers. It's very important to meet our goals because we have 3 new people on staff now and we want them. They are amazing people. They make our team better. But in order to take 3 new salaries on in a single year, that's a heck of a lot more money that we got to run through that business. So,
exactly.
Yeah, so don't look. I guess the reason is, oh my goodness, I just went off on a soapbox there.
I love it. I'm sure it will help somebody. A lot of times, listen, LuAnn, I've listened to your show a long time now, and I know even if we go off on those, we always learn something.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes I listen to them in edits, Ruthie, and I'm like, oh, you got to take that out, LuAnn.
And I guess the whole point of this is what I had to learn is that you absolutely, it's okay to need help.
Right.
We
right.
all need help.
Right.
But as women, I think a lot of times we feel like we shouldn't need help. We should be able to do this. Mm-hmm. We should be capable. And you know what? That is a lie. That is so not true. Right. And so, and what I also, another thing that I learned too from once I hired help, I was able to take time to rejuvenate. I was actually able to disconnect a little from work and get, and give to my family and give to my husband. And that's one of the hardest things about being a business owner and an entrepreneur is you're pulled in so many directions and you cannot give in all those places. And so once I kind of got help, I was able to place more time into things that mean something that's so important.
Right.
And so we were able to take more vacations, and we bought an RV, and we were able to kind of take the family and do some fun things, and I was able to feel free to leave my business for a few days and let somebody else take care of it. So that's crucial in our businesses, is to make sure we're having fun.
Right. Well, and the truth is
hard, but we've got to have some fun.
It's the truth. It's so true. And the thing about having help and support in your business is not just so that you are available and free to have the good times with your family, but so that when your family needs you for things that aren't so good, then you're available and free for that as well. We've had our share, right? All of us have had our share over the years of whatever the level of quote unquote emergency is with your personal life, whether it's a legit acute emergency or it's just like, one of your kids is sick with the flu for a week, whatever. And not that that can't be very serious, but you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, when you have somebody, even if it is just one assistant who is answering the phone and explaining to your clients that, she's dealing with this or he's dealing with this right now. I beg your patience in giving us, 2 days or 3 days to do whatever. So it's a point well made, Ruthie. I like it. I'm glad that you brought it up. And the overriding point on it is not overriding, but the conjunction point on it is that don't wait until you're not afraid to do it, because that fear, if you're a smart thinking person, you're always going to have a little bit of fear about taking the responsibility of a person onto your life. So
exactly.
And that's the way I look at it. When I hire somebody to my business, I've just taken responsibility for them. So, and I guess maybe that's partly too, because I am in the sales function. So I'm like, okay, everybody can stand around and do whatever they want, but if I don't sell something, something's not happening.
It's a huge responsibility.
So, and as designers, you are the salespeople for your businesses. So you guys all do exactly what I do every day: make thunder, make rain, and make it come down hard.
Exactly.
Very good. So in regard to running your business, I think there's a couple of interesting things in the way it's set up, and I'm going to run through it a little bit. You have your initial consult out there, and I like that you tell people, have your wish list ready. Have it kind of there. Let's not just like spin our wheels when we walk through the door. I also love that on your website, at the place where you mention your initial consult, that you have a video there. It's a time-lapse video that has a behind the scenes install of one of your projects. And I think that's a nice teaser to put there when somebody's thinking about the process of going through interior design with you, and they can see you and your team and all of your trades and stuff. So good on you for that. And then you have the walkthrough consult, which I like too. So now here's the thing. Here's what I understand them to be. The initial consult is when somebody has expressed to you that they have a full-on project to do, and you're going to come over and discuss if the two of you are a good fit, yada, yada. And the walkthrough consult is at the same dollar amount and at the same amount of time, 2 hours, but you are putting that out there that you may be the client here that just needs 2 hours of my designer eyeballs to walk through your house and just verbally give you every tip and whip it into shape that I can, and then you're going to go out and DIY it. Is that your
Exactly.
Okay.
And, that's how I started, LuAnn. When I first started my business, 14 years ago, that's the first thing I started doing, is because I felt like it was one of the gifts that I had to be able to think on my feet. So when I walked into a home, they had their pen and paper ready, and we went from room to room and we talked about everything and anything they wanted to talk about. And I give them all this information. So that's why I charge what I charge for the 2 hours. And so, but when I left, they were so excited that they felt like they had all this information that they could now go and do. And I would do about 5 of those consults a week.
Nice.
And so that became sort of how I started. And then from those walkthroughs, people realize, I'm not as good at this as I thought I would be. And it goes into other things. And so they would call me back and say, I have decided I would like for you to do my living space or our master bedroom or whatever. And that's how I got the ball rolling. And it's moved into whole house design projects now because of those walkthrough consultations. And some people say, why do you still do those? You do such big projects. Why do you still do the walkthroughs? And for me, it's because I love it. Right. It's my passion, and I just enjoy, that's where I really get to design on my feet, like I said. And to me, you've got to continue doing what you love.
That's
or
a
it's
good
not
point.
worth doing it. It's
that's
not worth
a great
doing
point.
it.
Yeah, no, I think that's an awesome point, that you don't need to do it anymore, but you choose to because you enjoy doing it, and
Absolutely.
That's awesome. And the thing is that we say that all the time: give away, give away, give away, give away. Now you're charging for it. I don't mean to say that you're not, but I mean, there are always people that will rather you do it for them. Okay,
Yes.
that I don't care what it is. If you talk to a website developer, they can give you a 2-hour consultation on how to do everything for your website and put the widget in. I can't tell you the number of times I've had consultants say to me, "It's really not that hard. Just click here." I'm like, you know what? Why don't you click there?
Yeah,
I'm not going to click there.
exactly.
I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I can't tell you how many times a neighbor will hear about me coming. Then they say, "Oh, well, I don't want the walkthrough. I need her to come do
The whole
everything."
thing,
So,
right.
it's worth it. Every little client that you get
Yep.
can somehow, and maybe in the future, get you some more work for them. So whether it's their neighbor, their mom, their aunt, their uncle, whatever, that's how my business has grown, through referrals.
I
So,
love it. I think it's
yeah.
awesome. And so the thing is, the other things that you do, which I love, this one I love, Away for the Day, where you have to have an initial consult with that. But what you do is, this concept is that they're going to do probably very little shopping. They're going to do some shopping. I can see that you said that on the site, that you'll give them their whatever the ideas and stuff. But for the most part, Away for the Day is, you just have your house set up backwards, and I'm going to
Yep.
move it all around. And listen to me, I know that to be true. When I only do window treatments, and I walk into people's houses, and I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The sofa should be there. That mirror is at the ceiling line, like, hello. And the pictures are hung. You know what I mean?
Oh my
and
gosh.
and
I
it's,
can't get in there fast enough. I mean, on install days where we're doing the one day, I'm like, let's get this thing going. I mean, it's so fun. We get in there, we just love it. We crank the music. It's just so much fun. And for me, because here's the deal, I get to be so creative on the spot
Yes.
without having to do any prep.
right,
Really.
right. There's no
And I
homework, no
love
back
that
work. Yes.
creative process. I feel like I can really be creative because it's all in front of me, and I can say, "Oh my
It's like
gosh,
a jigsaw puzzle.
yes, there's a table upstairs. Go get that. Let's see what that looks like here." And instantly this room changes from this blah room to
Yes.
this amazing photographic piece, like art piece, it feels
Yes,
like.
yes.
And that to me is a gift that you give the client when they come home, and they can see that just repurposing
Right.
some of the items that mean so much to them, and that they have collected over the years, mixed in with some new things, can freshen it up and make them feel like they have a new house.
I know. I love
And
it.
and that is where I get passionate, because home is so important. We're such a society now where we're all constantly on the go. We don't spend as much time at home. And I think when our homes are comfortable and feel decorated with the things that we love, we spend more time there. And so I want to give that to my clients. I want them to have that same sense of belonging at home and wanting to be at home and entertaining at home. And that's really what our job is all about.
And
Our job is
what
that.
I love about this, I haven't seen this on. I don't recall if I've never seen it on somebody's website in the 2 years that I've been researching you guys. But if I've seen it, it's been very rarely. Okay. But what I love about the Away for the Day is, first of all, I love that you enjoy it so much, and I think that's awesome. And I can see and hear that that's a way that you keep your juices happy and flowing and your creative muscles going, okay? But what I also love is that I think if more designers want to consider adding this to their mix of services, what they will learn is that there are what you take for granted, that when you walk into a room and you can just look at the room and understand that it's out of order, that the sofa, the chairs, the pictures, everything are all there, but 1, 2, 3 moves, and it is a completely different feeling. When you guys know that, I think often you take for granted that other people really don't know that, and that they've just got it in the wrong spot because it's in the wrong spot, or I don't know what, but I just know you should not underestimate that
Right.
ability and not really recognize that just taking somebody's existing things and moving them around. My own mother, I love her to death, but honest to God, it's like I don't do it to her anymore because, she doesn't care and I don't care. But I mean, it's like now we just laugh about it. I just walk in, I'm like, really? With that table there next to the other table, lined up to the other table? And she'll be like, what?
Well, and I think sometimes as designers, we like at first, I used to, like I talked about the self-talk thing. Sometimes I would say, well, gosh, it doesn't take much for me to do this. Why am I charging
That's
so
exactly
much?
what you're right.
Okay,
That's the
so,
point I was I underestimate the value of it, right?
Yes, and I started changing that to, this took years of experience. I mean, I had to learn how to do this. This took years and years of mistakes, bad things, happening during install days, lots of experience. And yes, it maybe takes me, an hour now to put a room together, but that's right. 14 years of experience.
That's right.
And so that's why it costs this much. It looks easy on the outside, but there's a lot that comes with that package.
Exactly right. And that's the point, is just because you have learned it, or some of it is innate to you, to not underestimate that it has a monetary value, because not everybody has that ability or skill set. And that's just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's not valuable. And so that's really great for bringing it out that way. I was going there and then I lost the trail.
So and that's one of the things I think as an entrepreneur we constantly have to do is talk positive thoughts to ourselves, because there's a lot of negative out there. I mean, there's just so much on social media and stuff too, and you just have to tell yourself, I am not going to let this stop me from moving forward. And I am good. I am talented. I can do this. I can learn. I can
You're
can
right,
learn
Ruthie.
from my mistakes, and it's okay if we mess up, and you're going to mess up.
Right.
And just pick up where you left off and move forward, and you will continue, and before you know it, you'll forget that bad thing even happened.
Right.
And that's just the nature of being a good business person. I think it's really that talking to yourself about positive things.
Well, I mean, look, it's very cliche to say, but I always say to my kids when I used to say stuff to them that are stereotype or cliche, I'm like, it's a cliche for a reason, because it happens a lot. So it's cliche to say, but the truly successful entrepreneur is not the one that doesn't fall down. It's the one that keeps getting up. Just get up again. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's like, you've heard the show 1,000 times. It's like I say to my employees all the time, don't come in here today if you don't think you're going to make a mistake. Just don't come near me if you're not willing to clean the mistake up, you see?
Right.
Then we're going to have a different problem.
Isn't that the truth? And, too, I found, when you do something that you love and you have a passion for, you feel like you have a purpose. And, when you get up in the morning and you're passionate about something, and there's always going to be the things that you're not passionate about in your business. But most of the time we're passionate about a project or whatever we're working on that day. But when you feel like you have a purpose in what you're doing, and for us, I feel like we have this gift that we get to give other people because it's so personal in their homes, that it is a purpose, and we can live a purposeful life because of this gift. And so I can't take that for granted. It's just one of those things that I was gifted with, and I'm grateful. I feel very blessed that I'm able to give back and it's my husband tells me often, because I'll say, oh my gosh, I just got this great review from this client, or they sent me this text and just talked about how awesome their place was. And he goes, you realize, honey, that you are very fortunate to be in a profession where you hear positive
that you get feedback
so much. And that is true. We sometimes forget that positive feedback is because I'm passionate about it, and it's a gift we're giving to them, the client. And so it's a cool, rewarding business to be in.
It's the truth, because anybody that hires an interior designer longs for and wants their home or their office or their space to be beautiful and doesn't have the ability to do it without you. So yeah, like,
and I think our clients feel that from us. They feel our passion, and they feel how in it we are. And if we come in and we don't have that vibe, they're going to feel that. And that's I feel is how they choose who they're going to work with, is how do they portray themselves, So I think it's really important for us as designers to come across as confident, and also that you are a listener, and are wanting to help them and are going to help them. And so for me, those are my goals, is to really get in there with my clients, and hopefully that's what I get to be known for, is that my clients appreciate that I really am into not just decorating their home, but knowing them as people, because that's how I can make their home decorated the best.
Nice. I love it. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about one of the things that younger designers, newer, doesn't need to be young, but newer designers often want to know is finding your vendors and your trades. So Ruthie, you're creating beautiful environments, and you're going in and you're doing these one day away for the day. That takes a team of people. Now in that sort of environment, you're not bringing in plumbers and electricians, but the point is that you're not doing this alone. You have a team of people that satellite around you. What do you say when you meet somebody at Design Bloggers Conference and they say, where do you find your trades? Where do you find your vendors?
I ask my friends first, not that I want to work with my friends, but do they know anybody? Because I feel like when you can get a recommended person from if they can be recommended, then that is usually going to be a good thing, because you already know that they're going to have integrity, for one thing, because that's what I'm always looking for. Somebody who that knows what I'm all about, so that they know already if they're going to be good for me,
Okay.
So I start with that. And then.
And let me just clarify. It doesn't sound like you necessarily mean your designer friends. You're talking about your personal network of friends,
Right.
Like your
Right.
girlfriend. Did she use a plumber? Did she use a painter?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Good point.
And that, and so a lot of times it's clients. I met my contractor that I work with now, one of my contractors, through a client. He was working at their home, and I just loved his demeanor and the way he dealt with the client. And I thought, I want him to work with my clients, because just the way he was not the typical contractor. And so, I had to keep my eyes open, looking around, seeing if they are willing to help and serve me even, and just like help me bring stuff in if I was there. If they say hello to their people when they come walking in,
right.
What kind of person are they?
Right.
And so that's how I just start observing and looking at that. Some of the professionals that I've hired have been people that have worked at my house, like the plumber and the wallpaper guy. I had them come to me first and see, and not tell them that what I do, but just see what they're like. And, we've gotten quite a few clients that way.
Yes. Well, and it's vendors.
Yep.
Yep.
Vendors, yeah.
And it's the truth, because you are looking for not only the tangible proof of their credibility as a business person in the community, and all the checking off the boxes of the licenses and all the things that along those lines. But I find what you just said to be very true as well. You're looking for, do they say hello to the people in the room when they enter the room? Do they come into your house to work on a snowy, wintry, rainy day and take their work boots off? It's the common courtesies, because somebody that does those things is the person that has pride in themselves and will always find that carries to the actual whatever the work is, the hanging of the wallpaper, the fixing of the plumbing, or the installing of the lights, right?
And yes, because I don't do things halfway. And
Right.
I don't want the people that I'm referring to be doing that either. So, I want them to go the extra mile,
Mm-hmm.
and do above and beyond what is expected. And that is just an expectation that I have. And so, when I refer vendors or professionals to clients, I can say with confidence that I believe in them and I
Mm-hmm.
know that they're going to do a great job. And
Mm-hmm.
so, we have a great relationship because we make each other look good.
Right.
If the contractor's working there, he's making me look good and I'm making him look good. So
Exactly.
it's beneficial for everyone all around, and you become a team. And so, you're constantly pouring into each other and making each other better.
Mm-hmm. And you find the when you work with somebody over and over again, there becomes a shorthand that's developed of the level and of the type of minimum requirements that you expect on a project, right? You don't have to enunciate every little thing. After a while,
Yep.
you need to enunciate different details. You need to enunciate specialties to the particular project, but certain level based things. You don't have to repeat yourself over and over again when you start to work in concert with your trades, right?
Yep, right.
Yeah.
Because I've trained them now, and they know what I expect, and are usually going over and beyond that too, because they know that's going to get them the next job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, they're willing to do that. So if we treat them too with respect, and make sure that they feel like they do belong to a team, even if it's not just the general contractor, but all his subs too.
Right.
Making sure they feel like they're part of us, and bringing them coffee and making them feel like they're doing this for a purpose. And again, goes back to purpose. And once people feel that they are part of a bigger picture, then you're going to get good workers. They're
Right.
going to be wanting to be there and show up every day.
I love it. I think it's great. The last thing that I would love to ask you about is you wraps us right back to the beginning of the conversation and with your being on the board of the Design Bloggers Conference. So your blog, you did it from the beginning, and at the 7-year mark, you thought, okay, I've got to up my game a little bit here. I need to. You said you wanted to step it up another notch, and that's why you decided to attend the conference. Do you find that your blog draws clients to you, Ruthie?
Absolutely. So many times I would think, I'm writing who's listening out there? Hello,
Is
hello.
my
Is
mom
anybody out
reading
there?
it?
And really, really, what it took for me to realize that people are reading it is most of the stuff that I am posting out there or posting on my blog is work that I've done, a project that we're working on, or before and after pictures, and trying to be, have that be my voice, so that people can see what I'm like. And then, when clients call, a lot of times they'll say, well, I've been reading your blog for the last 2 years, and I've been following your Facebook and your Instagram stories, and I see what you've been doing, and so I finally am calling you.
Isn't that
And
something?
isn't
You're
that
thinking
crazy?
and they've never commented, they've never anything. You
Never.
had no idea they were there,
Never.
right?
And then I get there and they're like, oh, well, remember that house that you did with and I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's like been stalking me.
Actually
And
reads my
so
blog.
funny. And it's so funny, but that is exactly what is happening, is that there are people out there reading, they're wanting to be inspired. And if I'm inspiring people, that's awesome. It leads to business. And so, I think you mentioned earlier, we can constantly be teaching. In our industry, my blog is really a tool to teach.
Right.
And so I
And
really try to do like a Ruthie tip, or something in there that makes them go, oh, I
good
should go try
idea.
that.
Exactly.
Like when we're reading a traditional home magazine or Veranda or whatever we're reading, I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting there reading it, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I need to go try. Oh, that's a good idea. I need to go do that. And I'm moving stuff around in my house, but that's what we can inspire people to do. And that's the beautiful thing about what we do, is we can do that.
Right. And do you have is your blog a blog that, in other words, like you said, you started out writing it not knowing if anybody was paying attention. Is it that way too now, Ruthie, that, look, I don't know if there's 20 people or 300 people paying attention, but I know that the people that are paying attention are calling me? Or are you at the blogger level where you have, whether it's hundreds or thousands following your blog? I'm not aware of that. I usually look these things up and try and find out before I talk to you.
I probably have a couple thousand.
Oh, but even that's pretty good.
I'm not like, it's not one of those things that has been where I have to write a post this week or my followers are going to wonder where I am.
Right, like Linda Holt or Carla Aston. You're not making it a revenue arm of your business. Okay.
Exactly.
So it's not that, right.
The pressure for me has been taken off of myself. I totally decided, my game is Instagram. I'm a more personal, one-on-one kind of person. I like to do Insta stories. I love for people to see behind the scenes. That's what I'm about. And then I can blog about a project we finished and have the professional photos up on there, and that it keeps it clean and professional. And then behind the scenes, social media is where anybody that wants to dig deeper and kind of see what we're doing can do that.
I love what you just said there. Your game is Insta stories. You have identified where your strong suit is, and you do the other corollary things because a good business person makes them available, but you lean into the thing that you're the most comfortable with, and from there draw them to the other facets however they want to get there. So the Insta stories, and then go to my blog if you want to see this, or go to my feed if you want to see that. I like that. And
it keeps it clean and buttoned up and professional, and
it's what you're comfortable with. That's the big message, right?
Exactly. And I find that I started looking, what am I interested in? And then I thought, that's what I need to do, whatever I'm interested in. So people that I was following, I'm like, I love their Insta stories. They're like cooking. They're showing how their a new recipe, but then they're showing that they're at a client's house behind the scenes and an install, and I love that.
And that's
to me,
what
that
you like.
shows that they're a normal person.
Right.
And I too have found that my clients, even if if they find me on Facebook, they're just like, I'd like to hire you because I feel like you're just normal. I don't know, but that's telling to me.
Well, I have to tell you, I share that with you. That's why I felt like I knew you right away, because I said that to you before we started the recording. I feel like I know Ruthie. Right? Not a version of Ruthie, not the paper doll version of Ruthie, and so you do a very good job of expressing your authentic self through it, and that's really what it is. Yeah, no, it's it's engaging. Yeah, it's engaging and it's charming, and you draw people in with it, and so the thing is though that if your comfort is in the writing and really pouring your heart and soul into engaging and drawing people into your design world through writing, then do it that way. If not, you find your space. It's funny because I was just talking with Mark McDonough from Tastefully Inspired the other day on the phone. And he's so good to me. He's always helping me and suggesting things to me. And you know what would be really good for you, Lou? You know what would be really good for you? You should do this. I
love that.
I know. He's awesome. And so we were talking about Facebook, and of course I've had my my ups and downs with Facebook Live. I do it, then I don't do it, and then I was doing the car rides, the duct tape diaries, which I totally love that. I totally love that, and that feels like me. Except that what happened, Ruthie?
What?
One listener is a designer, and she private messaged me and she said, I'm going to tell you this tongue-in-cheek, selfishly. She said, God forbid you're ever in an accident. She goes, I used to be a lawyer. And she said, and if I don't care if somebody blindsides you, she goes, I would tear you up on the stand. Given that, she goes, and selfishly, I don't want anything to happen to you because I don't want the podcast to go away.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And so I had to sit back on that because not only is that fair warning, but I don't think I could live with myself. I mean, you can't live, And so what happened was Mark and I were talking about this, and he's like, well, pull over into a parking lot. And I'm like, well, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of me doing two things at once and getting it done.
You need to do like what they have in the movies where they got the screen in the back back that's moving, and then
Exactly.
you can totally do that. I think you can pull it off, LuAnn.
No, what I have to do is I have to do like they have in the movies, and the car is really hooked up to a what is it, like a cable, and the car's really dry.
Oh my gosh!
But the thing is, the thing was
Yeah.
that we were going around and around, and I'm like, talking about finding your comfort zone. And finally I went, Mark, you know what it is I do? I do a podcast.
Yeah.
That's what I
and
do.
you know what? And you're good at it. So what I found too, though, writing is not my thing. I had dyslexia, still have dyslexia, pretty seriously, and I struggle with it. And writing is not my thing. So it was a chore for me to do it, but I did it because I knew I needed to, because blogging was the thing.
Yeah.
You got to do it, and it has boosted my business. I am so glad I did it. But now I get to do something
This
else.
video element
I'm
is
better
like,
at.
no typing, no reading, no
Yes.
writing. It's just
And
you. Yeah.
fortunately, we are able to, if we're not good at things, God usually gives us something else that we're really good at. And so I'm taking that as one of the things that I've got to do. And so it's fun to do something that you feel like you're really good at.
Exactly. And that's the thing on the show. I get a lot of emails and questions from designers who say to me, there's so many things. I listen to your show every week, and there's so many things that we should do to build our business. Should I this? Should I this? Should I this? And the big message is, yes, you should. But the big thing that you should do is the thing that you can do with joy, the thing that feels real to you, because then that's going to make the connection to the consumer that you're trying to draw in. And you have to do bits and pieces of these other things in order that your wheelhouse is completely with all its spokes moving around your website, but you lean into the thing that feels good. So
exactly. And you can dabble, you can dabble in little things, but then choose something that you're really good at and be good at it. And that's what I always say.
Yeah. So that's what I said. I said, you know what? I do a podcast. Do I have to do this other stuff? Do I have to do Facebook Live too?
Yeah, I know. And there's so many things out there about Facebook. We're doing the Facebook Lives and all, but I don't know. There's a point where you just can't be 1,000 things at once.
That's it. I love watching everybody have the success with all the different platforms, though.
Yes.
It's fun. It's terrific.
It is fun.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I tell you, Ruthie, you are one awesome lady, and I really do. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that we actually had a chance to have a nice long conversation as opposed to a quick hello in a hallway somewhere.
Yes.
So
Well, can I just say this, LuAnn, you contribute to the design industry so much with your podcast, and you're always so authentic and genuine. You have the spirit about you that is to be admired. You're so smart, and you ask the right questions, and you just have to know that you're lighting our paths to better things. And so what you're doing for the design community is influencing us, from the baby designers to the successful ones. And so if you ever start feeling discouraged about what you're doing and what your purpose is, you need to remember that you are changing where our industry is going, and that is to be more authentic and personal.
Oh my goodness.
And so thank you for that.
I can't thank you enough for that. That's such a gift that you just shared that with me. Thank you, Ruth. I genuinely appreciate it. I genuinely appreciate it.
I know I can speak on behalf of the entire design industry on that one.
That's awesome. I like you said when you said to your husband, "Oh my God, look what somebody just said to me."
Yeah.
I love it, and I value that you said that to me. I appreciate it so much. So, all righty, lady. Well, your Design Blogger Conference is coming up soon. I wish you much success with it. I'm sure it's better for your involvement on the board. I'm 100% sure of that. And I wish you all great moments of ahas during it.
Thank you so much, LuAnn. We appreciate you.
I told you that you'd like Ruthie, right? She is down to earth. She's a giving mentor, and she is a talented interior designer. There were a few things that I liked about this conversation with Ruthie and the things that I learned about from talking with her. And one of the things is that I love that Ruthie has figured out a way to integrate one of her favorite aspects of interior design into a paying feature for her on her website and through her business. She loves the creative process of taking clients' existing furniture and accessories and making an exciting transformation for them. Now, of course, you understand she still does her full service interior. She does all of the things that are, required and needed of a full service, high-end interior designer. But she just plain loves this. You heard her voice light up when she was talking about it. And so what did she do? She created it as a thing. She made it a thing on her website, and she calls it a way for the day. And so therefore, when a client comes to her website and they see that, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'd like to have that done. And I'm sure she probably has opportunities where, has had situations where she's done an away for the day for a client. And then they were like, if you did that with my stuff, what would happen if I let you buy me stuff? So the point is that, if it leads to other work and other referrals and other clients, all of that is awesome. But the thing is that Ruthie just likes to do it throughout her month randomly because it brings her a lot of happiness. And what I like is that she's figured out a way to make money for her. So that's a win-win for Ruthie, and I'm really happy about that. The other thing I liked about the conversation learning from Ruthie was that while she did start a blog back in the day and she understood that it was a smart business thing to do, once Instagram came along and she figured out that she was more comfortable there, that she really loves, as she described, the Insta stories. She feels very comfortable on camera. Of course, please go and watch her Instagram stories. Follow her on Instagram at Ruthie Designer. It's RUTHIE Designer. And you'll see why she loves it. She's a natural. I've watched her stories. She really is conveying to potential clients how down to earth she is, her personality, and how giving she is. And so the lesson in there is that very often when I get emails from you guys or messages, it surrounds around the fact that there are so many ideas coming out of the podcast, that one guest is killing it with their blog and another guest is killing it with their Facebook Live and another guest is killing it with having, meetings and hosting breakfasts or coffees with realtors and builders. And Ruthie is killing it with Instagram. So the thing is, I hope you also, in addition to keep hearing all of these ideas from all of your tremendous colleagues, that you're also hearing that each one is always saying it's not necessary to do everything. You don't have to do all of these things. You still need time to be an interior designer and a human being, right? So find the thing that fits for you. Find the thing that feels good, the thing that doesn't feel like work. Right? Because this is a marketing thing. And so if you can't do it authentically, then it's really not going to serve you because it's not going to reach the person who is your ideal client because you're not being your real true self and therefore you're not showing your best self and therefore, it's not going to attract the person that's right for you. So the big message is don't be overwhelmed. Find one thing you like, sink your teeth into it, and do it. And just like Ruthie, she had success with her blog, and the blog continues to draw clients to her. She said that it does, but she doesn't worry about it anymore. Once she's found Insta Story, she's like, well, if I get a blog post out, I get it out, but I don't make it I must do this event in my life because she doesn't really love it. So that's a great lesson in there too, okay? And then the other thing I want to say is, you heard about the wonderful things that came out of going to the Design Bloggers Conference for Ruthie. First of all, the very first time she went, when she was a little afraid to go, she explained how she was a little intimidated, but that she had a renewal in her business and she had ideas and she just felt that energy come back into her. And then we heard how that's where Cheryl and her met, Cheryl Luckett from 12 by Cheryl. That's where they met. And that relationship has developed into a sincere friendship that they both count on. And so I just wanted to remind you that not only do you have the Design Bloggers Conference coming up very soon, but you also have an opportunity to attend the International Window Coverings Expo, where I'll be speaking and I'll be teaching the art of the high ticket sale, specifically as relates to window treatment. So if you're an interior designer and you're thinking, should I be adding window treatments to my mix? The International Window Coverings Expo is the perfect place for you to come and figure that out for yourself. Okay, there's lots of great speakers there. I've been introducing you to the speakers over the last month or so. We've met Jason Oliver Nixon, and we didn't meet John Lucky, but he spoke about his partner John Lucky, and those two guys are Madcap Cottage. They're going to be giving the keynote, and I'm just saying, if you heard the episode with Jason Oliver, then you know that keynote's going to be a really excellent keynote. I'm looking forward to watching that and listening to that. And then we have Jana Platina Phipps, the Trim Queen, and we also have Michelle Williams from the Scarlet Thread Consulting. We have Madeline McRae. Deb Barrett will be there. There are a lot of valuable seminars, and it is the perfect place for you as an interior designer to get your feet wet and step into and see if you are interested in adding window treatments to the mix of your product that you offer to your clients. I can tell you that they're a very profitable avenue, and with a little bit of knowledge and a reliable window treatment vendor, it's something to be considered at the very least, is what I'm saying. So if you're a little nervous about it, just like Ruthie might have been, or Ruthie was, don't worry about it. Just come on down to Tampa in March, and we're all going to make you feel welcome. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's for sure. You take that to the bank. Okay. So, alrighty. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for telling your friends and your designer besties to listen. If there's somebody that you know that hasn't heard about the show yet, would you pass it on to them? I'd love it if you would. Alrighty. And I want to know, what are you going to do today? What one thing? Did you get an idea? Did you get an aha moment today? Did you get something that inspired you or clicked something in you that you said, I could do that. That could happen for me. So I want you to think about that. I want you to write it down, but then I want you to do something about it. Don't just make notebooks full of intentions, okay? So go out there today and decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.